Amber Island is looking to have one of the biggest rosters of monsters inside of the game overall. However, today we're going to be going over what new monsters are going to be coming next, and not only that, as we have a bit of information that we've been given as towards an update that we could be expecting later this week. So make sure to watch all the way until the end so we can go over everything. So for Amber Island, it has been confirmed by the monster handlers that Amber Island monsters will be arriving in groups of 3. Obviously right now we've seen the release of Amber Island, and that actually introduced a whopping 6 new monsters. So the 3 that are going to be arriving are definitely going to make quite the change, but obviously we need to go over who is going to be next. So we need to go over, in order to do that, all of the monsters that are going to be coming to Amber Island so we can get them on screen. So first of all, we have as doubles, Flower, Stog, Boscus. We have our triples, Bob, Reptillo, Waddle, Wallaby, Wink, Sousa, Roototoot, Frumble, and our 9 quads, with those being Tring, Snizer, Flumox, Bicinnerus, Krillby, Edamimi, Incisaur, Tiawa, and our mystery quad. And out of the 5 quints, we have Candelabra, Dromedary, and the 3 missing quints, and of course our potential Hex monster. So that brings us up to 12 or 13 new monsters and 13 returning fire elementals. And we also have confirmation that each one of these are going to have different availabilities dependent on how hard these are to get. So let's take the quads. They're going to be harder than the double elementals, aren't they? So they're going to have a bit more time in game. So depending on which ones come is going to determine how long we are going to have to wait until the next batch of monsters as well. Now, considering the monsters that we currently do have available, we can go ahead and say, seeing as though there's 8 triples and 9 quads, it's highly likely that in the next release we are going to get another quad and triple monster, especially with the quints and doubles being rather low in numbers in comparison to the quads and triples. It's unlikely that we might see them next time. We might see one of them, but that is quite an unlikely situation, I do think. So going from this, I think we need to adventure over to the loading screen though, as we have more hints over there as towards what could be coming. On our lovely loading screen here, we not only have a hint towards the Crucible that may be coming very soon for our rare and epic monsters, but we also have what appears to be some teasers for the upcoming fire elementals. These are very well hidden, I must say. I really do like the path that they've gone down with these. The path. The puns are real, guys. As if we have a look at the paths on the floor, if you have a look here, you can see that the paths may be hinting towards what fire monsters may be coming next. If we look at the paths, you can see that there's 2 types of paths laid down on the floor, but not only that, each one appears to be in the number of 4, which could be hinting towards the new monsters that may be arriving in game. Now, I do think this was a bit of a stretch myself when I was originally looking at this, but something which I do want to point out is that both types of path have the fire element laid down, and if this wasn't a hint as towards what's going to be coming next, I feel like the fire element wouldn't have necessarily have been there for both types of paths. So seeing as though we have 2 types of paths laid down here, and each one having 4 each, we can see that there are, number 1 for the brown paths, the plant called fire and earth elements, which leads us towards the unreleased quad elemental, which is really interesting. This is where my mind just blew up, guys. And then also the celestial paths that are laid down on the floor. We have the fire, air, water, and earth element down on there, which correlates to Flumox's elements. Now, I was originally very skeptical about this. I feel like the next teaser that we're going to be going into is definitely a lot more likely than this one, but seeing as though the fire element is in both types of paths, it feels like this was done very intentionally. And seeing as though we also have another teaser to the side, if we have a look at the vessel here, it does appear as though they are hinting towards the next fire elementals, as this vessel right here is definitely a hint as towards what new monster is going to be coming next. This vessel's elements are not seen across any of the vessels that we currently have in game, and the fact that it's so well hidden, the egg and the element underneath, definitely hints that this is something that they did not want us to see. And if we go ahead and look at the elements here, we can see across all of the different vessels that the elements have different alignments. So if we have a look at the alignment of this one, this aligns with the triple element one. As if we put that one next to it, you can see the elements align with that one. But if we put the double element ones across and the quad one that we have right now with Yelmut, those do not align with this one. So seeing as though we have that hint there, and we know that the elements going upwards across the vessel actually correlate to what is in game, as across all the vessels, the elements going upwards align with what you see inside of the market. Going by that, we can work out that the 2 last elements of this monster are water and fire, and we don't have a water and fire triple magical elemental on Amber Island right now anyway, so this must definitely be something new anyway, regardless. But seeing as though this is hinting towards something new here, we have 3 options. We have Frumble, Rootitoot, and Waddle going by how the elements have been aligned with the market elements in the market. So seeing as though this is the case, I feel like we need to go back towards what triple elementals we currently have. So we have the 4 triple elementals that are going to be arriving from the magical islands. We've seen one of those with them being Ziggurat. Then we have 6 triple elementals come in from the Fire Islands, and from those we currently only have 1 from Fire Haven, with that one being Flugel. And seeing as though the only monsters that this can align with are Frumble, Rootitoot, and Waddle, and we know that there's more monsters on the way from the Fire Islands that are yet to come, it's more likely that they will hint towards those ones. So I feel like this is hinting towards it being Waddle. So overall, it appears as though the loading screen is hinting towards us getting Waddle, the final Fire Elemental quad, and Flumox, which is absolutely insane. Now, personally, I find it very hard to believe that the new quad would arrive in game. I think the Flumox situation is a lot more likely. It feels like it's too soon right now to be expecting the final quad, but those alignments with the paths at the bottom of the loading screen definitely gets your mind ticking, and oh my goodness, it gets me so excited. I really do hope that it's the case, but obviously we need to keep his expectations in check, and these are only theories, guys. The Waddle situation is definitely the most likely one to come true out of them all, though. Seeing as though we know that they are going to be releasing it approximately in waves when each of the countdowns come to a close, we can expect for these monsters to release around the 16th of March. Now, again, these are just theories, so we don't know exactly what the monsters are going to be, but it's quite likely to be these ones. For the song, we need to go over the song too, as I do want to go over the song a little bit inside of this video. So currently, the only thing that I really do have to mention inside of this is how we have no Castle Bass, and that means Snizer is going to have to come along at some point, and I do expect them to come along sooner rather than later, but honestly, they can choose them at any point that they want, really. I am expecting, though, that they might go down a little bit of a magical sanctum route where they release the perhaps more bold monsters towards the island's contribution a bit later on, so maybe if that's the case, we might see Snizer a little earlier on, maybe. But honestly, that's quite hard to work out, as seen as these are dropping in waves too. It's going to be interesting to see how they spread them out in comparison to the rest of the updates that we've seen overall, though I'm just really excited about the song. It really is turning out so cool, even just from the 6 monsters that we have right now. That isn't all that we have to go over today, not at all though, as we also have some surprises going on this week. Seeing as though we have some song glitches in game, they are planning to fix those, but we are also going to be getting some surprises this week, so let's listen to Monster Handler Matt to see what we know about that.
The way Amber Island sounds now is not correct. We do have a fix. Our hope is to get that out next week, aligned with some other surprises.
So we are going to be getting some surprises this week, and if I had to guess what those are going to be, I think it definitely could be either a variant or the Crucible opening. The Crucible opening is the best option, I think, as towards what could be coming. The Crucible opening just makes the most sense as of right now. That's the only thing that I can see coming this week. So if it is to happen, I am going to be beyond excited to see how it works, as it looks so interesting. Anyway though, guys, if you enjoyed this video, please do make sure to leave a like down below and to subscribe too, guys. I'll see you later though, guys, for now. Bye.